Hi, this is Miss Hancock, and you are listening to MichMash, a place where I get to talk to the weird, wacky, wonderful people of this world, people I adore and want to know more about. Today, my guest is Lisa Who. Lisa is the founder at Lux and Nix, a company that designs bags for the woman on the go and out to make a difference. That's me, baby. Hi,
Hi,
how are you
I'm
today?
great. How are you?
I am very good. So, I got to meet you through TEDx and through our buddy Brett Schnicker, who was literally just here at the studio with me on another podcast. So, we're in good company.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we actually met even before then, before I
Oh, did
even
we?
really started this company in the very, very beginning stages at
Really?
George Slaughter's event. I don't know if you remember, that was a couple years ago.
Yes, that's right. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that
At
was
that
a
time, I
while
was in like
ago.
formation stages. I mean, so many things have happened since those days. That was still me just exploring and wondering how do I make all of this happen.
Well, it was kind of a whirlwind there, Lisa, because what were you doing before this?
I was in corporate finance, so I was a finance executive, and that was my life. I had gotten my master's and gotten my CPA, so I was doing accounting for most of my career, and um, it's
Not
kind of
anymore.
funny.
It's
Not anymore,
very
and now
you
I'm
have
in
gone into a
fashion.
completely different direction.
Yeah, very much so. And it's a very interesting transition. And, I'm first time entrepreneur in my family. I come from a very conservative type, like, as in, like, they don't like to take risks. They like to just kind of be stable as you go. They were very proud of me up until the point I was like, hey, I'm going to leave corporate America and do something a little bit different. And so that's
And they
just
were
something that
good
I
with
always.
it? They weren't a little nervous for you, like, "Oh, you got a good
Oh,
steady thing
they
going
were,
on there,
I mean, no,
Lisa?"
they were very nervous. In fact, my family still till this day do not quite understand what I do. And that's just, I come from a very conservative Asian culture, and it's one of those things that it's hard to explain to people that come from very supportive families. So my family, they're very supportive, but their way of showing how they support is like, have you ate yet? Do you So now it's funny, now my mother's always like, do you do you need me to buy you dinner? Like, I'm like, mom,
You
just
obviously
because.
are starving, honey, because you aren't
Yeah,
doing the financial
clearly.
thing anymore.
Yeah, and so it went from a very different like tone of like, oh my God, you're doing so great, because I had this, a perception of success because I had this good finance career with, going to 8 to 5 type of job, with a steady income, to, hey, today's great. Tomorrow, oh, COVID happened. Okay, you know what? We'll get through this, and the day after, we'll bounce right back. And it's just a roller coaster that most people from my culture have a harder time understanding, because their relative ideal of success is very different. And I don't really want to limit that to just the Asian culture. I think that happens prevalently through a lot of different cultures, or a lot of different families as well. So I'm probably just sharing a bit of my own experience
Well,
on
but
that
and I
front.
agree though. I think that there's a thing of, I mean, I'm a parent of an 18-year-old. I don't know what she's going to end up doing, but there's a part of me that is like, "Oh, I just hope that she decides what she's going to do so we can get her on that path."
Hmm.
But then there's another part of me that's like, "Well, I was like 40 something before I figured out what I was going to actually do."
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I think we all are there. I truly believe that as we grow older, we're never really mature. No one really ever knows exactly what they're doing.
right.
Some people just, or try to pull it off like they do. When, we're all just big kids at heart,
There
We're all
you go.
trying to figure out
Yeah.
what we're gonna grow up and be. Um, and even the most successful people out there are, it's just a way to, it's just a front. It's just, you don't really know what they're like
I'm
behind the
going to
scenes.
act like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'm
but
making
that's the
it up
beauty
as I
of
go
it.
along.
Right. That's the beauty of it though. Like if
That's what makes
can
it
you
fun.
yeah, can you imagine if you knew exactly what you're gonna do for the rest of your life? And it's like, oh man, like that would drive me nuts.
Yeah, exact. So, all
Yeah.
right, but tell me how you went from the financial world to going, I am going to design beautiful bags for women. Like, how
Yes.
did this happen?
I was doing so much at that time. I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, head straight to the gym, head straight to work, which you know, I was working on growing my career, and I was successful at doing it. I was just continuously growing the up the corporate ladder, but I was just constantly in meetings or doing work. But I would do that. I would travel for work, and then also in the evenings I would do my MBA. So I was getting my MBA from WashU at the time. And on the weekends, yeah, on the weekends, I also did some consulting gigs. So I was just kind of like going, 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 going. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and at the time, I was like carrying, a bag with my workout clothes, with hair dryer, and then also another bag with, my computer, my work files, another bag with, lunch, and
You
then
were a
another
bag lady.
plastic bag for my heels, like my life was full of bags, and I was just looking for, just one bag that looked really polished and, made me look like I was, I believe that you always dress for the part that you want to be. And so I wanted to be a corporate executive, um, and I was on my way to do that. And during that process, I was just, it was, right around the time of like when you're 30, I think that's when you hit a moment where you're like, hey, is this what I'm supposed to do with my life? I feel like it is. Everyone's cheering me on, or at least I think I am. People are, my,
They
my
seem
family
happy.
loves the fact that, I'm, in corporate finance and I'm doing great. I'm getting my MBA. So I was like on this road of accomplishment, accomplishment, accomplishment. And then I was like working until, I was a hard worker. I was working till midnight one night. And I was like, man, I'm looking at a list of people that are being let go. Because, I was doing the finance side of things. And they were going through restructuring, and all at the same time, it's midnight. I'm working my butt off, and I'm like, is this making an impact? Like, these people that have been with the company for over 20 years are being let go. I'm here working my butt off. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm getting accomplished on the surface level of things, but I wasn't really happy. And
Right.
I was like, well, what's wrong with this picture here? What am I doing that I'm productive, I'm growing my career, I'm making good money. Um, and I have good friends and everything seems perfect. It was just too
It was
perfect.
just, well,
Yeah.
and honestly, Lisa, if you're going to work till
Yeah.
midnight, work for yourself.
Well, I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just like, man, I gotta, show the executives I was, a hard worker, hard contributor,
Right.
and I was worth my salt, and just everything. But truth be told, I was also like one of the few female directors at that level, and so like there was a lot of disconnects and a lot of different things that I was, telling myself that was a not not a lie, but like maybe a misconception of how I viewed the reality of the world. And
Right.
I wanted to, one thing I did know was like, I was like, I want to make an impact. I want to make a difference. I don't know how, I don't know why. But I hit that point in my life where I'm like, what am I doing? And I looked at my boss at the time. I was like, I don't know if I want your job. I don't know. That
Ah,
doesn't
right.
feel like, that was
That's
the point where I was like,
supposed to be where you want to be in 5 years, right? And you
right.
didn't want to be there.
Yeah, and then also thinking on, it was a culmination of different things. So and then all at the same time, I just got done with my MBA, so I had all this free time apparently. And so I was like, well, I kind of want this bag. I want this bag to happen. And I looked in the market. I couldn't find it. So I fast forward. I went into trying to create sketches of what I wanted this bag to look like. The first bag was like literally a unicorn of things. It had, every imaginable feature or function you can think of, which I managed to get most of it in, which is pretty impressive now that I
That's
look back
cool.
on it. Yeah, and I just I one thing led to another, and I have to say, and the scariest part during this journey was just actually just quitting. Was the day that
Yeah.
I went into my boss's office and I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about leaving." He was like fully expecting me to say I'm going to a different company. Uh, and he was like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "I'm
Go
gonna,
into my own company.
yeah, I want to sell bags or create bags." And like he was like, "Do you know anything about this?" So it's like, "Nope,
No, but
not at
I am
all.
well
Not
educated.
Yeah, I'm very well educated in everything else but this field, but I'm gonna give it a shot." And so, I think the interesting thing about not having relatives that are entrepreneurs is no one is there to tell you how hard it is.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah,
well,
and
it's just I
so
I have often said it's a self-help course.
it is.
Like, if you
It's
wanna learn everything about yourself and have to I say dig deep, you have to dig deep.
right.
It hits you at every level. You do not need to get any self-help books. All you need to do is become an entrepreneur, and you if you figure all your stuff out along the way, you'll do good.
Yeah, right, exactly. Um, yeah, and it's almost I feel like I've learned so much more in the past couple years. It's been a few years now, than I have in my MBA course. That says something. That speaks volumes
Right.
to what you learn through this
Well, it's
process.
real world, right? So you're applying,
It
yeah, it's
is.
real world. So one of the things that you've done, and I mean, I find I just love everything about what you're doing. Not only are you designing these beautiful bags, but your audience, your customers, they have a say
Mhm.
in
Oh,
what
yeah,
happens
yeah.
with the
We're
bags.
talking about our the latest Origami 5000 line
Yes,
that we're
yes,
doing.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Super exciting. So we are Well, this all culminated through this process of me thinking like, well, everything's changing right now. We have, I'm thinking about what products are we going to create this fall. And then I'm like, man, I know what I want. I probably know what my friends want. Mish, I can reach out to you and ask you what
What do you
you
want,
want.
Mish?
But power is in the numbers. And so I'm like, I want to really find out what do like you learn in statistics, the more data points you can gather, the more information you'll understand. So I was like, well, can I, kind of crowdsource this idea with the beautiful minds of 5,000 different women, which
Right.
is where how the name came about, Origami 5,000, and get all of their like this brain trust together to say, what do you want? What are the features? What are the materials? What are the colors? Which is this next poll that we're about to do. What are all these little things? And we're actually going to do like quotes too inside, so people get to ultimately vote on the inspirational quote, which is something that I'm really big on,
Cool.
is inspiring women to be more productive and do more, um, and having all that culminate into something that's like meaningful and intentional. You hear all these things about, hey, fast fashion is really bad for the environment, and what we're trying to do here is just kind of slow that down and be like, we're creating intentional products. We're going to use as much eco-friendly material as possible, and on top of that, these are for this batch, for the Origami 5000 batch, we're only producing the amount that's being pre-ordered. And so that's very different. It's
Wow, that
very
is
different to what
interesting.
is yeah, what people are doing in the mass market. And so I'm a little nervous, but I'm also very interested in finding out what happens.
I like that though. So it's like
Yeah,
you have to, we're not going to have leftovers.
we're not going to have leftovers. Yeah,
That's awesome.
not
And
a
why do you call them origami?
so these bags fold completely flat. So there was actually about 8 different categories of products that I was having people vote on. So it went from not just bags, but it had like jewelry, like accessories, candles, clothing items, and people ultimately still trusted Luxonix to make bags. So it's a compliment. I take that as
Yeah.
a compliment. So they chose the origami line. So we had a origami 1.0 essentially, that looks very different. It folds, it's weather resistant, it kind of expands out. You can do a lot of different things with it. um, and they chose that, and what we're doing with that is creating the extended family line, because we have one size, and what you really want to do is be able to provide versatility. So
Right.
larger size and then a mini size, which to be honest, all these polls actually made me think about even the origami 1.0. Originally I thought that was like, oh, it's great. Not to say that it's not great, but I'm like, man, like now that I'm reading all these polls, I'm going to rethink how I design not just this line, not just Origami 1.0, but all the products that I have, the second version, making it ever so better, making it ever so more useful. Because many times we have all these wants, but there's like a few key features that just makes that big difference in how you
Exactly.
use the product, or what really matters to people. So
So, what
it's
are
it's
some of
been
the
an interesting.
features that are winners?
Oh my God. I use a 15-inch laptop, and I didn't think it was like a big deal to a lot of women, but a 15-inch laptop compartment, I think we're actually, for a period there, we were seeing technology go smaller and smaller.
Right.
But as remote work is becoming more prevalent, people are favoring, bigger items. Even so, 15-inch laptop compartment was really interesting. Cell phone pocket
Yep.
was very interesting. There were a lot of people that wanted so luckily on our origami bag, we already had that design in place, which is a luggage strap for, to go
Oh,
onto your
right.
luggage.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Origami 5000, the current one, actually, the current one design that we have already has that in place. So I can easily translate that to an extended family line. It's kind of hidden. So that was really interesting. That means people are traveling, or even with COVID happening right now,
Getting
people
ready
are
to go
looking,
travel again.
are
Like it's going to
getting
happen again.
ready.
It will.
It's going to happen again. It's crazy thinking about what's happening, which is like traveling went from luxury to right now, just they're just waiting for it. They're waiting for it to open up. I know
Right.
it might take some time, but those are indications that people are not saying. Oh, one thing that was really interesting. I was like, okay, um, with everything that's going on right now, with masks in place, with sanitation measures in place, surely they must be looking for pockets to hold those items. It was one of the lowest scoring items.
Really? Certainly. I don't need a place for the
Yeah.
mask. I'm not going to be wearing that forever. Got ya.
Yeah, exactly. That's a mentality. So people are fighters. These women, they're fighters. They're like, I'm not gonna let this, take me down and make me think that this is the world that we live in.
Right.
You betcha as
Right.
soon as things open back up, they're gonna be out there. And that's really cool. It's really cool to hear that from, our
Optimism.
audience.
I like it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
can I ask you
Um,
some interesting questions? I have
yeah,
interesting questions for you.
absolutely. Sure thing.
Um, so where are you from originally?
I was born in, well, my birth certificate says something different than where I was actually born. So
Oh,
that's
well,
an
let's hear
interesting
this, Lisa.
story. So, so, um, so, so I was born in the city called Hai'an, China.
Okay.
It's in mainland China. It is literally translates to seaside. So, yeah.
Ah,
I was my family is originally from there. Um, but my birth certificate actually says Nanjing, China. So that's like 5 hours away. Nanjing used to be the capital of China before the communist regime came in and took it over. And so, long story short, it's related to this thing called hukou, which is a zip code related. You can look it up. It's HUKOU, but it's basically saying at one point, people were limited to, like, where they work, where they reside is limited to what your hukou is allowed you to be at.
Got you.
So my parents put my zip code, like they wanted my zip code to be in Nanjing, which is a big city, compared to Han, which is a very little town. And just like 10, 20 years ago, well, I'm a lot older than that, 30 years ago, people were, the mobility was restricted based on your zip code. Your social
Really?
economic status in the world in that country was based on your zip code, and it wasn't really opened up until the last, like, I would say like 20 years, 15, 20 years. And so um, that's why my parents made at the time, they're they're well educated in China, so they were able to move. And I never really completely understood how they did it, but they were able to move their work resident zip code to Nanjing. And so what happened was my mother was still pregnant with me in Nanjing, but she went back to Seaside to give birth to me, and I was there for a month, so that she could be around family, whatnot. But so I was actually born there, but as soon as a month went by, she went back to Nanjing to solidify my zip code and everything like that, to ensure that I could have more options. I think
It's
now
funny,
it's not like that anymore. So
but
it's
it's kind of the same here. I mean, like the zip code you're born in can determine a lot for you,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So imagine if you can't move, though.
Right.
Imagine if that's not even the option.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, very, very
Oh,
interesting.
cool.
So
All
that's a
right.
long story to your
No, no,
question.
no. This is why I asked that question.
Yeah.
So, tell us what Lux and Nix means. I thought this was so interesting.
So Lux and Nyx is a Greek representation for light and night, um, which is very interesting how the name came about. I was still in that process of exploring what I want to do. I was on my way back from, a seamstress shop, and I was on my way back from talking to a local bag maker who is no longer doing it anymore. Um, and I was driving on Highway 40. I'm like, man, like, what is this that I'm doing? Should I be doing this? Just pondering all those life questions, and all the same time trying to figure out what the name of the brand should be. And it was on Highway 40. I remember clearly, I saw this beautiful sunset. It was a pink sunset, hence our color is that mauve pink. And I was like, the name's got to have something to do with a transition in time. Because this feels very, um, it's very signaling, or it's a pivotal moment for where I was. And I feel like a lot of people go through those pivotal moments in life. And it's just a short burst of like deciding between daytime and nighttime, or light and night, and, making a pivot. And so that's how the name came about. Oh, I went back home and I started searching for what's something that could represent light and night, or sorry, like, or, that afternoon time. And, when you start Googling something, you kind of end up on the other side of Google,
Right.
and you don't even know how you end up there. So I end up in Greek mythology, and hence that's, so I was like, oh, there's a goddess of light, Lux, and goddess of night, Nyx. And that's how it came about.
Well,
So
that's
there's the
much
origin
better
story.
than, well, I was working night and day and then so that's
Yeah,
awesome. I love it. I love the name. Um,
yeah.
okay, so let's say that you and I we're gonna go travel to China together. Where are you
Hmm.
taking me first?
Ooh, interesting question. I probably would take you to the very, very countryside, because, if you go to like something like Shanghai or Beijing, it's very um, metropolitan. It's starting to feel very much like, like a fast, like paced big city. You get that
Right,
feeling.
right.
But I think there's something to seeing because majority of China still lives in, I would say, poverty, compared
Okay.
to the relatively affluent sector of China. So I feel like there's something to learning a culture that is beyond what you see on the surface. I think it gets to the root of, what that culture is. You see and learn so much more about, a country other than, the sexy side of it. It's like, most people come to America, they want to go to New York, but
Right.
like the
Right.
rest of the US, there's so much more to explore. In fact, the countryside, there's like scenery that you won't see in the big cities. There's food you won't be able to taste in the big cities. Yeah, you're going to see poverty, but that's okay, because you know what? That's real. Like,
Right. Right.
and the big cities are kind of like, hey, like, I would say that's the first place I would go. But, big cities, of course, there's a lot of history there as well. And there's great things to see there as well. But, I think that many people should just take the windy road, take the less seen path, and explore, because that's where you learn the most and that's where you grow. And, I think people are better when they get to see more of
Like
what's
be
there.
amongst the people, right? That
Right.
and I gotta tell you, every time I've traveled, I tend to stay somewhere off the beaten path so I can like hang out with locals because
Yeah.
you do learn a lot more.
Yeah, you do. You learn so much. And so yeah, so to your question, it's probably somewhere in the countryside where, it's not, the most metropolitan, but it's where you get the most human um, interactions and human feels.
I love it. I love it. So tell everybody where they can find out more about you and Lux and Nix.
Yeah, so you can definitely check us out online. It's luxandnyx.com, luxandnyx.com. And if you're interested in giving us input for our Origami 5000, it's just luxandnyx.com/build, because it's a concept of building it together, which I'm super excited about. And I'm like, we already got all these feedback back on features. We have quite a few more polls to go, but I'm already really excited about what this is. It's definitely gotten me to scratch my head a little bit. It kind of goes back to the whole, okay, in the very beginning when I designed a product, I had all these wish lists, and learning or figuring out how to place those things together. It's something that I'm currently working on. So, but I'm super excited. So I love for people to sign up, check it out. But yeah.
And look at all the beautiful bags. They're like forever bags.
Yeah, that's what we are going for. It's more classically designed,
Yeah.
and very transitional.
I love it. Lisa, thank you.
No, thank you for having me. This was
This
a
is
pleasure.
great. I'm so excited. I finally got to talk to you.
Yeah.
Next time it will get the next time we do this, it'll be in real life though.
Yeah,
We'll like
no,
hang
we'll have
hang.
to make it happen. Yeah. Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
Well, thank you, Lisa, so much. Everybody out there, you've been listening to Mishmash. Have a wonderful day, and we love you all. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye. Are we done here? Should we?
Well, we can hang for a little bit. We can still be the podcast.
Oh,
But yeah,
yeah.
no, thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah.
I love your bags. I went
Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear
yeah,
you. Oh, hello?
a wonderful day and we love you all. Bye.
Hey, Mish. I can't hear you. Uh-uh. I, is it me? I can't hear you. Uh-uh. Hmm.
Paul can't hear me
Oh,
either.
yeah, now I can.
You can hear me?
Yeah,
Uh,
now I can. I don't know what happened. It
Good.
like blurped in and with your exit. So I think he
Okay,
must have
wait,
cut
wait.
the exit
Let
in
me see
there.
if I can put these back on to hear you. All right, now talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you again.
Ah! No, it
All
like
right.
blurped in with your exit scene. So I wonder if Paul was like switching
Yeah,
between.
he's
Maybe
doing
that's
his
what happened.
audio amazingness over there. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah.
no, seriously. I mean, and so where is what's your next step? I mean, you're doing the origami bags and all of
Mhm.
that. Do you have some future thing you're looking at right now?
Right now so it's interesting because like our strategy was completely pop-ups. Like we were doing pop-ups in different cities and,
Right, right,
getting that
right.
personal interaction,
Yeah,
which I still think will happen
it
next
will.
year. This year, we're basically like, okay, how can we, improve our website, make sure that people are feeling like it's a storefront online without,
Yes.
and like be able to include more information in terms of each of the different features and functions of the bags. Because one thing that like the questions that I've had in the past, like what size laptop does this fit, which is, like so important to people's lives these days, which
It is
makes me think
super
about,
important. I mean, I have
yeah.
like a tiny little, like, I thought it was awesome. It's like 2 pounds. It's a Max something or other. And it's, I think, 13 inches, maybe even smaller than that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People don't know what size it is.
Well,
Yeah.
and they quit making them.
Oh, I have a MacBook Air. I have the
And I
same
was like,
thing.
wait, I don't want you to quit making this. I like this size because I could fit it into all of my backpacks and purses and what have you.
Yeah, they're
That's why I
going
liked it.
bigger. They're going bigger
So
though.
interesting. Shoot, I don't want to carry around anything bigger, but this one's
It
gonna have to
doesn't
last a
it
while.
Yeah, doesn't it make you also feel like my MacBook Air is the same way? I got it in like 2014 maybe or 13, I don't remember. But then I looked it up. I was like, I can't update it anymore. It's out of date. And I'm like, man, like it makes me
Well,
feel
they have
old when they have.
at 5 years, it's considered vintage, and for Macs are considered vintage after 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably what happened. And so
I
like I'm
know.
like, oh man, like that's no, like, well, they don't make that anymore either. Mine's like an 11 inch. It's even smaller. It's this big.
Yeah,
But right
mine's
now I'm
really
using a
it's little.
15
I
inch.
love this thing. I was so
Mhm.
so my daughter was like, she's graduating from high school, and she wanted a computer for college, and she's like, I want one like you have, and I was, we can't. They don't make them
Aw.
anymore. I'm so
And you're
sorry.
like,
So we had to get her something
daughter,
different.
I forgot your
Yeah,
daughter's name. I think I met her or I
it's
heard about
Mickey.
her.
Yeah, and
Mickey, that's right. I knew it.
sorry, Mickey.
Yeah, like, sorry, I can't even give you mine.
I would do this for you, but Mac decided to quit making them. I don't know why. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
interesting. But
So,
yeah, I mean, carrying around a laptop is a big deal. So I can
mhm.
see why that's like top of mind when it comes
Yeah,
to designing a bag.
yeah, so that's why we're like, okay, how do we make our web page feel like it's like an in-person store? Like, is
Right.
there things like I'm even thinking about doing something where it's like I just talk about the features,
I
like,
love it.
and that way people will get more of a personal feel for the product itself, which they were able to get through pop-ups in the past because you get to feel, touch, hear the story, you know, so all of that right now is like, okay, like that's like on the back pedal for next year. I know it's all going to come back. No one needs to freak out, which I think people are freaking out
It
about
will.
this.
No,
Um,
I mean, it has to. Everybody keeps talking about the new normal. I don't know what the new normal is,
mhm.
but it's not like we've lost everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I think it's so easy for everyone to, well, because of the instant gratification that we get on social media, they're like, oh, this, right now, this is it. It feels like we're like teenagers. It feels like this is the end of the world. He broke up with me and now I'm doomed.
I know, but it did kind of
Me?
feel that way because what was that
Yeah.
whole feeling of what is going on? I mean, I think I just felt like every day you would wake up and think, okay, what's going on now? Right? Because
Yeah.
it was something, I mean, it's just been one thing after no, I mean, so as they say, when I look at it in the good sense that when these things come up, they're coming up for a healing.
Hmm.
This is the year of a lot of healing. We had
Yeah.
to heal a lot of stuff because it's all coming up,
Yeah. I mean,
you know.
the silver lining is people are going out more. Like that's something I didn't see before. People are,
Realizing they actually miss family members, you know. I
yeah.
mean, there's good. There's bad. We know the bad. Just turn on the
Yeah,
news. Bad's all
I
over the
know.
place. But there's also that positive. There's also that silver lining. So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
hope everyone doesn't let the bad get to them,
yeah. And don't
and
get all fearful. Just do your
get through it.
thing and
Yeah, it's just 1 year.
be
One year.
loving.
One
Be
year in the
loving
lifespan of
of
our
many
life
many
is
years.
right, is nothing. So,
Well, I totally appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on.
yeah, no, thanks for
We'll
having
hang.
me.
We'll go
Yeah, no,
over
we'll
to
have to
Stars
we'll
and
have to do
hang
this.
with
I know.
Brent and Emily. Be all
I mean, after
fashionly.
thinking about Like when we first met, it's crazy. I actually just that thought dawned on me before we started talking today. I was like, wow, that's like 2 years
Another
ago, 3
lifetime
years
ago.
ago. I know. I feel
Things were
very,
really
very
different
different.
only that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
not that
interesting.
long ago. Yeah, but all good
Well,
things.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank
You
you
have
for
a
having
wonderful
me.
day.
Yeah, tell Paul, you too, tell Paul I said hello. Thank
I will do
you.
so. All right.